Sports. We are Buffalo. We are South.
Last night was an all-star kind of night. And with Braves royalty in the house, Freddie Freeman put on a show. Tonight, Chris Medlin toes the slab against a Cincinnati club trying to find its way on the road. It's the Reds and Braves, Game 2 from Turner Field next. It's an absolutely perfect night for baseball in Atlanta, and a big crowd expected for Friday night fireworks during and after the game between the Braves and the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, friends, along with Tom Glavine. I'm Chip Carey. Welcome to Game 2 of the series. And, Tommy, let's hope Game 2 is as good as the first one. Atlanta won by a 6-5 final score. And two pitchers hoping to, well, get things back on track or continue on track, go at it for the respective ball clubs.
Yeah, we talked last night about how evenly matched these two teams are, and that last night's game certainly turned out to be that way. And you've got two pitchers that have had, I guess, a little bit different experiences against their opponents going into tonight's game. Bronson Arroyo, in his start earlier this year against the Braves, did not pitch well. 5 innings, 8 hits, gave up 4 runs, a home run in the mix. So he's looking to rebound from his last outing against the Braves. And on the other side, you're going to see Chris Medlin, who's had a little bit better numbers against Cincinnati his last start. You see there, Bronson Arroyo, 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs. And on the other side, Medlin pitched pretty well. He's coming off a tough start his last time out, but his last time against Cincinnati, pitched a good ball game, went 7 innings, gave up a couple of runs, had a bunch of strikeouts, threw the ball real well. So he's going to look to build on what he did the last time against Cincinnati. And Bronson Arroyo is going to look to forget what he did last time against the Braves.
Funny how that works. Medlin said the other night against the Marlins, it's just my day to have some trouble. He did. He looks to get back into the win column in what will be his final start before the All-Star break. Perfect night for baseball. It's the Reds, it's the Braves, it's Game 2, and lineups are next.
Braves and the Reds. I'm Tom Hart at the ballpark. Atlanta will go at it tonight without right fielder Jason Hayward. Strained his right hamstring trying to go first to third last night in the second inning. He said today he may be out for a while.
Going into it, I would say the smarter thing to do would probably not play, but that's just what I know right now. We'll see tomorrow. I mean, if I feel great tomorrow, then we'll see about the next day. But right now, the best thing to do is be cautious.
And with the All-Star break coming up, we'll have at least 4 days of rest, maybe more. Evan Gattis makes a rehab assignment start tonight for Gwinnett at Durham, and still waiting word on whether or not Jordan Schaefer will be back right after the All-Star break. But the Braves down a guy, and only 3 outfielders available, with Turdoslavich available off the bench. Chip.
Thank you, Tommy. And Mr. Glavin, that's one of the things for this Braves ball club. They've had to deal with some injuries to their bench. We'll talk about that as we get the game underway tonight. Here's the Reds batting order. 2 All-Stars, Votto and Brandon Phillips in the middle of Dusty Baker's Toyota starting 9. Shin-Soo Choo has been a very good leadoff man. He scored 3 runs for the Reds in Game 1 last night. Jay Bruce is their right fielder batting 5th. Frazier Cozart down to the lineup after hitting 2nd last night with Mesoraco and Arroyo, the Cincinnati batter.
And they'll face Braves right-hander Chris Medlin, 6 and 8 on the year. You see his splits on the season. April and May, 1 and 6 with a 3.48 ERA. June and July, covering 7 starts, 5 and 2 with a 3.4 ERA. So he's going to look for that trend to continue. His 4 keys to success will piggyback on those numbers a little bit. Start me up. First 3 innings, easily his highest ERA of any segment of the game, 4.42. So he's going to want to look to change that and get off to a quick start and continue to love. We showed you those numbers there. His first 11 starts of the year, he's 1 and 6 with a 3.48 ERA. His next 7, he's 5 and 2 with a 3.4. Pretty similar numbers. The difference, he went from 1.6 runs of support per game in those first 11 to 3.7 those last 7. So keep them coming, boys.
And he'll go after Shin-Soo Choo for the Cincinnati Reds. Very odd weather day at the ballpark. About an hour ago, the grounds crew had the tarp on the infield. The skies were very dark. The wind shifted, was blowing straight in with a cooling breeze. Hardly any rain fell at all. And the first pitch of this game is belted past Dan Uggla and into center field for a leadoff hit. Third hit of the series for Shin-Soo Choo.
Jumping on that first pitch. Like so many of these good leadoff hitters do. Got that look for that fastball. Got it. Poked it up the middle just out of Uggla's reach. And he had a good night last night and off to a good start again tonight.
Yeah, 1 pitch to extend your hitting streak to 10 games. You're right. Good way to start the ball game. So we'll see if Chris Medlin, with that good pickoff move, can keep Choo close at first, as Derek Robinson gets the start tonight. He's the Reds' left fielder. And Joe West said he's back safely. Freeman thought he had it.
Sure looked like he did.
Freddie was ready to throw the ball around the diamond, but I didn't get the call. 1 ball, no strikes for Robinson. Robinson getting a chance to stay with the big league club because Ryan Ludwig has been injured for Cincinnati. He got hurt in the first week of the season. That's another big loss for this Reds ball club. And he lays down a beautiful bunt. He can really run, and not in time. Robinson beats out a bunt. Man, big, long strides by Derek Robinson.
Well, that's a luxury of having 2 guys at the top of your lineup that can run a little bit. You never know, and in this situation, if he's going to lay down a bunt for a sacrifice or a bunt for a hit, that could have gone either way. But like I said, with his speed, that was kind of in no man's land, and he beat it out. Just a very well executed play by Robinson.
So Chris Medlin in very early trouble. 2 straight Reds hits, and he has to face Joey Votto. talking before the game, Tommy. You do not want to have to pitch to this guy, do you?
No, you don't, and certainly not in this situation. I think when you go over your scouting reports, you're formulating your game plan, you're envisioning this guy coming up in the first inning with 2 outs and nobody on. So this is certainly not a situation you want to see him in at any point in the game, and certainly right here in the first inning to get things started. It's just a tough out. There's no real one way to attack him in terms of getting him out.
And a good cut with the first pitch, and looks outside at ball 1. Votto with 67 walks and 41 runs batted in. He is hitting .319 for the season for Cincinnati. And on his way to another All-Star game, this time in New York at Citi Field. Ball stayed low. Votto took it. 2 balls and a strike. Rob Drake, by the way, is our home plate umpire tonight.
And that's what makes Votto tough right there. That's a pretty good pitch. You know, that's a curveball that looks like a strike. Good downward bite, ends up out of the zone. Most hitters are going to offer at that, and in most cases swing at it, but not Votto.
And because of his very patient and selective approach at the plate, Votto has a .431 on base percentage. And here he is in a 3-1 count.
Well, be careful here. Still got to make him hit your pitch.
90-mile-an-hour fastball is fouled back to the screen.
Yeah, he got away with that a little bit. He was trying to go in and ended up probably more down the middle than it was in, and fouled it off. So now it'll be interesting to see if he goes back to something off speed because he threw him a fastball, or if he goes back to location trying to get that fastball back on the inside corner. You see Brian set up, and that ball missed middle away. So, you know, you'd think a lot of times in this situation you say, okay, well, I didn't throw that where I wanted to. Now let me try to back it up with the right location.
And another walk for Votto, and the bases are loaded for Cincinnati. And it sets up beautifully for Brandon Phillips, the Cincinnati RBI leader with 69 on the year. Something Dusty Baker, Tommy, was really upset about last night. Tons of scoring opportunities for the Reds, and they've really struggled with runners in scoring position the last month.
Well, we talked about it going in, and it certainly came to bear last night during the game. They had their opportunities and just weren't able to come up with the big hit, maybe to bust an inning open. You had Brandon Phillips' little base running blunder there in the first inning that certainly helped keep the Braves out of having a big inning against them there in the first inning. So they had their chances, and here they are starting up again tonight. So from Medlin's standpoint, like I always talk about, keep it under control, try and get that ground ball right here, get a double play, and stay out of a big inning.
Brandon Phillips with runners in scoring position. Those indeed all-star numbers.
Yes, they are.
He's 1 for 6 lifetime against Medlin. Chu, Robinson, and Votto aboard for the Reds with nobody out. And good stop. 2 balls, no strikes. How about Phillips with the bases loaded this year?
Those are pretty good, too. Those 2 graphics are a pretty good example of a guy getting opportunities and making those opportunities cash in.
Way upstairs, 3 balls, no strikes.
I think for Chris right here, this is where you just got to slow things down a little bit, keep things in perspective. He admittedly said that his last start out, he just didn't have it. It was one of those nights, and you know, wasn't much you could do about it. And when that happens, you want to come out your next start and get things going and kind of get that out of your brain a little bit. So he's got to stay patient right here and not try to force the issue.
In that last start, he came against the Phillies. Gave up 2 first-inning runs after 2 were out.
Yeah, that'll drive you crazy as much as anything.
So he's got a 3-1 count now for Phillips. Good speed aboard for the Reds with nobody out. Pitcher's pitch, full count.
That's 2 good pitches to get back into the count. Now again, it's his decision time. Does he go back with that fastball? Does he try to put him away with his changeup? In any event, you have to make a quality pitch right here. This is not a, hey, you can't walk the guy. You got to make a quality pitch.
And Phillips fought it off to stay alive.
I think a lot of times you buy into that. Oh, it's bases loaded. I got nowhere to put this guy. I can't walk him. Well, I always felt like I'd rather walk you than throw one down the middle and back up home because 3 guys are running the bases. So not always an easy mentality, but Chris has been pretty good at bearing down and having that type of mentality when he's been in these situations.
Lined into center field, a base hit. Chu will score. Robinson around third. He will score. And Cincinnati's first 4 base runners have reached. It's 2-0 Reds.
There's a fastball, and again, looks like it's more of a miss in the location. Trying to go down and away where he went for strike 1 and strike 2. Just didn't execute it. I like the thought process. Made 2 solid pitches at 3-0 and 3-1. Got back into the count. Tried to go back there with that same pitch, and that's the danger in tripling up on a pitch. The 3rd time, you better make sure you get it there.
So Jay Bruce, the Reds' home run leader, stands in. Still nobody out. 2 runs on 3 hits. This could use an out, and one area where you hope to exploit Bruce is the strikeout. He's whiffed 109 times despite 18 homers.
And 6 at-bats against Chris. He's struck him out 4 times. So.
That missed the corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Early innings at times have been a problem for Medlin.
Well, you know what? They usually are. If there's going to be a portion of the game that are, for a guy of his style, it's going to be those first few innings, because he doesn't have overpowering stuff, so he's not going to get away with location mistakes because of his stuff. So for a guy that relies on stuff and location, that the location aspect of it is the harder part to find out in the early part of the game. And I think you're seeing it right now. He's scuffling a little bit with his command of his fastball and either getting behind in the count or not being able to make that fastball pitch to get the out that he's looking for.
Well, he's gotten ahead of Bruce. Let's see if he can polish him off. Hammered into the seats. 1 ball, 2 strikes. You'd love it out, obviously, and you'd also love to keep the double play in order. If that were to work out for Chris, getting out of this first down only 2 would be excellent work.
It would be a moral victory to some extent.
Ground ball to second. There's 1. There's 2. Well, the double play first isn't too shabby either. Runner at third, 2 outs.
Got 2 strikes on him. Went to that changeup and executed the pitch. Finished down in the zone, and that was really all Bruce could do with it if he was going to make contact. Was hit it on the ground, and nice double play, nice turn, and now you got an opportunity, like you said, Chip, get out of this thing with only 2 runs and feeling good about your offense's chances of scoring more than 2 runs.
Todd Frazier is the Reds' 3rd baseman. With 10 homers, 41 knocked in. Frazier 1 for 4 last night. He has a hit in 8 of the last 9 Reds games. That's out of play, foul. 2 balls and a strike. That's Red skipper Dusty Baker, 16th all-time in the Major League Baseball managerial wins list with 1,632 of them. Another fine year for Cincinnati last year. Reds won 97 ball games. Were a very sexy playoff pick to win the World Series, but ran out of gas in the playoffs. And this year it's an uphill battle. They're 5 out of first. And if the playoffs were to start today, it would be Cincinnati as the second National League wild card.
And they would play who?
Pirates.
Pirates.
Two balls, 2 strikes. I don't think I'd want to play the Pirates in a one-game shootout. Not with that pitching staff.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would either. And I'm not sure if I was the Pirates, I'd want to play Cincinnati in Cincinnati in a one-game playoff.
Heavy workload for Medlin. Hudson needed 30 pitches last night to get through the first. Chris's 28th is fouled away by Frazier. He's had 3-2 counts, Tommy, in this opening inning.
And I think that speaks to his lack of command at the moment. You know, he's usually much more of a strike thrower, ahead in the count, puts guys away when he has 2 strikes, and so far in this first inning, that's been his 2 Achilles heel, getting ahead and then putting guys away.
In the air to center, BJ coming on, can't make the play. It hits off his chest. Upton is down. Frazier in at second, and a run is in. Now Frazier's going for third. The relay throw late.
I think I hit him right in the kneecap or somewhere around there.
I think the ball hit Upton, but he also skidded to a stop as he brought up a big turf divot trying to make that play at center.
Well, this is the last thing the Braves need right now. Already thin in the outfield.
Jordan Schaefer's on the DL. Jason Hayward hurt his hamstring last night. The Braves outfield getting awfully thin. Freddie Gonzalez pondering the options. If Upton has to leave the game, Reed Johnson has played center field. No likelihood then you would see Joey Trdoslavich take over either in left or right, depending on what Justin Upton wants to do. But a line drive by Frazier hit Upton in the glove, and on his dive attempt, the knee dug into the dirt. And it looks like Upton's going to have to come out of the ball game. Let's check in with Tom Hart, as the Braves' worst nightmare apparently has come true here in the first.
Yeah, Chip, this isn't the scenario that anyone wanted to see, but I asked Freddie Gonzalez what the plans were with a thin outfield with Jason Hayward unavailable for tonight and perhaps this series.
Let's just go out and use the guys that we have here. And if anything goes wrong with the guys that are playing, with Reed or Justin or BJ, you can run Pasternicki out there, you can run Trdoslavich out there, but we got some options.
And one of those options continues to be Tyler Pasternack. He got extra work in again today, taking some fly balls in the outfield, but it's still a position he's not comfortable with. So Trdoslovic will be the call at this point. But now nobody with outfield experience in a major league game is left on the bench.
The All-Star break can't come fast enough for the Atlanta outfield.
Man, oh man. Well, you know, it's you hear Freddie talk about his options, but in the back of his mind, I guarantee you he was hoping he didn't have to go to any of those options. And like you said, the Braves' worst nightmares come true here in the top of the first inning.
So Reed Johnson will move over and play center. Joey Trdoslovic will take over in left, and Justin Upton will move to right field for Atlanta. Helping hand for Reed Johnson, or from Reed Johnson as well. He just flipped the shades to Justin. Right field's the Sun field in the early moments of game 2 with the Reds. Again, Jordan Schaefer fouled a ball off of his ankle in Kansas City. He's on the disabled list. And as Tom reported before the game on his clubhouse report, still feeling an awful lot of discomfort in the ankle. Hayward strained his hamstring last night. B.J. Upton hurts himself here in the first after Frazier tripled home the third Reds run. And Cozart swings the first pitch, and Reed Johnson will be tested immediately in center, and he's got it to retire the side. History repeats itself in Atlanta. Chris Medlin throws a lot of pitches, 30, and the Reds score 3 times in the first. In game 2, the Braves can hit the replay button. After 30 Medlin pitches in the first, Tim Hudson threw 30 last night, gave up 2 runs. Braves came back to win. Let's see if they can do it tonight against Bronson Arroyo.
Well, you hope history will repeat itself in that regard. Braves will be facing Bronson Arroyo, excuse me. You see his splits on the year. Real good at home, not so good on the road. Braves will look to add to those numbers. As we said, his one start against the Braves this year, he struggled a little bit. Took the loss. His forward pitching keys, kitchen sink. He'll throw anything at any time. So he's going to need all his tricks to be working tonight and ignore the numbers. This lineup tonight, with the exception of B.J. Upton going out now, collectively 10 home runs and a .325 batting average against him. So he's going to have to try and figure something out.
Andrelton Simmons is the first man to grade him. 7 homers, 29 knocked in for the Braves shortstop. And the shift is on for Cincinnati. Brandon Phillips playing on the third base side of the second base bag, something we haven't seen against Simmons this year. was in perfect position for out number 1.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but clearly the Reds personnel saw something to make him do it and hit it right to Brandon, right in the perfect spot.
Here's Reed Johnson. Reed took over for Jason Hayward last night, and in his first at bat tripled home a big run for the Atlanta offense in the 4th inning. That came off Matt Latos. Lost to Tim Hudson in game 1. And ball 1 from Bronson Arroyo. This guy might have the most distinct windup in baseball now.
Yeah, he does. That we were talking about it before, and it's distinct, but it's really hard to duplicate it.
Just thinking about raising my leg like that makes my back hurt.
Oh,
right?
That makes your hammy hurt too.
Right?
Well, you see a pretty good indication of what I'm talking about with the kitchen sink. It's 3 pitches, 3 different speed curveballs, and 2 different arm angles.
And that one caught an inside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Arroyo started with the Pirates organization, then to the Red Sox, and on to Cincinnati, where he's been a terrific big league pitcher. Another chance at second for Phillips, and that's the second out. Here's the Toyota starting lineup for the Braves tonight. Had to make an adjustment after B.J. Upton got hurt in the top of the opening inning. Joey Turdoslavich checked in. He will be the 8th place hitter in left field. All-star Freddie Freeman had a big night with 4 RBIs. He's hitting 4th. Bronson Arroyo, 98 wins as a Red. He's 2 behind Mario Soto on their all-time list. And a free agent to be at season's end.
He's creeping up in a lot of their all-time numbers. 10th in starts, 8th in strikeouts, 18th in innings pitched. So he's creeping his way up.
And the third, Frazier scoops that up. And Arroyo has a 1-2-3 bottom of the first inning. 3-0 Cincinnati with 3-1. Second inning. And as we all know, Delta Airlines is a proud sponsor of the Atlanta Braves. We'll be back on the Delta charter this coming Thursday and off to Chicago for the White Sox.
And if you weren't here in the bottom of the first inning, there was a whole lot of things that went on. Reds jumped up to a 3-0 lead. B.J. Upton on a sinking line drive there, diving, got his knee caught in the turf, and had to leave the game, so a wait word on him. Hopefully nothing serious. Reed Johnson took over in center field, and Justin moved over to right. And Chip, you're going to have to say this guy's name. I'm not comfortable with it yet.
Slow.
Oh, there we go. Okay, there you go.
Or Joey T.
Joey T. I like that better.
There you go. 1 ball, no strikes to Devin Mesoraco. I'm not comfortable saying his name. You have to bail me out on this guy.
Big D.
There you go. 238 average, 4 homers, 20 knocked in. 1 for 4 last night. And a chance for Upton. Down the right field line, Justin near the stands. And can't make a play. It's in the seats. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, you talked about hitting the reset button, and for Medlin, obviously you can't, but I think you have to have the mentality that, you know what, if I hold them to 3 runs, there's a really good chance my team's going to score more than 3 runs, so we still have a chance to win this game. So you got to put aside what happened in that first inning and then just grind it out and try to put up as many zeros as you can here on out and give your offense a chance to go to work.
Is it a fluky thing? Is it something you thought about, try to correct, alter your routine to escape these early inning troubles, Tommy?
All of the above. I mean, I know I tried everything, and eventually it gets in your head a little bit, and you start trying to not make it happen, and that's the worst thing you can do.
There's a good comeback. He gets Mesoraco to swing and miss. That's out number 1. First strikeout of the night for Chris, and Bronson Arroyo is the batter. Keep an eye on what the Nationals are up to tonight. Speaking of wanting to hit the reset button, Steven Strasburg might want to. Oh, what a play at third by Johnson. He took away a hit from Arroyo.
You're not usually expecting the ball hit that hard by the pitcher most of the time. A good reaction there by Chris. Came up clean. Made a nice throw and nice play. But anyway, to finish your thought on that other game, no, that is not the Dolphins and the Redskins playing in that game. If that gives the folks at home any indication of how it's going.
Yes, Strasburg's allowed 7 runs to the Marlins. That game is, I believe, in the 2nd inning. 7-3 Marlins over Washington. Washington might be staring up at the Phillies at this pace before the break.
Yeah, it seems like every time they start kind of kicking their heels and getting back in the race a little bit, they fall back the other way again.
Washington, at the very most, could lose a half game to the Phillies. They were rained out at home. They've got a series with the White Sox before the break, which means they'll have to play 2 tomorrow in Philly. And Chu has another hit. I don't know what he's going to get on the free agent market, Tom, but a guy with a .430 on base percentage in the National League that walks a lot, has some power, is going to be worth an awful lot of money.
Yeah, well, he gets on base, ultimately, and he does it a variety of ways, walks, home runs, hits, so I would venture to say there will be a whole lot of teams in the market for him. Like, we talked about it, I said it jokingly last night, mentioning Ricky Henderson, but that's the style of player he is. He hits for power, he takes his walks, he gets a lot of base hits, can run, kind of your prototypical leadoff hitter.
He's got 10 steals, too. Let's see if he's moving with Derek Robinson up. Started and stopped. 1 ball, no strikes. Robinson was originally a Royal farmhand. He's out of Gainesville, Florida. Hits one to straightaway center right at Reed Johnson. He's in a couple of steps and makes the play to retire the side. Nothing doing in the red second. All-star Freddie Freeman ready to go for the Braves, who trail 3-0. Freeman gets set to work. He's our Yellowwood, bringing the lumber.
He's been bringing it for sure. See some of his nice work last night. 3 for 4, 4 RBIs, line drives all over the ballpark, which is always a good thing to see, and really put an exclamation mark on a great day for him yesterday.
19.7 million votes for Freddie Freeman, which shattered the record for the fan vote. And after his post-game interview with Tom Hart, Tom got the first hug from Freeman, which means he has 19,699,999 to go.
Yeah, no, it was great. All the storylines behind that, and the folks, the Braves fans that got involved, and these players doing all the things, the teammates they were doing for him. That was great.
I thought, too, Tom, what was equally great in this era where professional athletes are perceived to be one way, the humility that Freddie Freeman has expressed is so refreshing as he grounds to Cozart at short. And he's an established major league player. He is who he is, and he's a terrific young man.
Right.
He's what you get.
Well, right. And I think that, you know, aside from what he does on the field for the Braves, I think that's what is so endearing to him, to so many Braves fans, is that he is that unpretentious, just easygoing kind of guy. And you know, like I said yesterday, it's really hard, I think, sometimes for him to take himself seriously and put himself in the company of the All-Stars. But guess what? You are now.
And Brian McCann bats against Arroyo and takes a strike. So for Freddie Freeman, this stage that he's going to step out on Fox, what does that do for him for the rest of his career?
Well, I will argue that it now puts him smack dab in the middle of All-Star voting come next year, because I think so many times that All-Star voting around Major League cities is, well, there's nobody on our team really that plays first base, so
McCann to left, Robinson near the line, gets there, 2 out.
So to finish that thought, I think a lot of times when you don't have a player on your local team that fits that particular position, you'll look at the names and you'll say, okay, who made it last year? Oh, Votto? Okay, well, let's vote for him again. Or you have that name recognition that comes along with a Joey Votto or some of these other guys, and maybe Freddie hasn't had outside of the Atlanta area, but now you put yourself in that all-star setting, you put yourself on that national stage. I think he becomes a little bit more of a household name and a little bit puts himself in a better position to garner more of those votes next year.
Did you feel that was the case in your career after you won 20 for the first time and then started being a perennial All-Star?
Yeah, obviously it's different for a pitcher with All-Star games, but no question it puts you on the map, absolutely.
More of those names will be on the map at the All-Star game. Citi Field, the home of the Mets. National League's won the last couple All-Star games, so hey, with the Braves playing good ball, love to see the National League do it again this year. And maybe a potential Game 7 here in Atlanta. Jay Bruce in shallow right, and 2 flyouts ends the Atlanta second. 3-0 Reds lead it. Playoff teams from last season. It also features 2 outstanding young first basemen. We thought it'd be fun to compare the resumes of Joey Votto and Freddie Freeman tonight.
Well, we've talked about it enough already in a game and 2 innings worth of this one, of the similarities in this team, and there's another one. You look at their 2 first basemen and very similar numbers, both hitting in the primo or one of the primo spots in their team's lineups offensively. And as much as the discussion has been about Freddie Freeman and Puig out in L.A., you can make an argument that Freddie Freeman had better numbers to make the All-Star team as a starter over Joey Votto. So, I think that just further solidifies Freddie's case for being there.
So Votto leads off the 3rd. He walked and scored on Frazier's triple. Ball that deflected off B.J. Upton's glove. Upton injured himself trying to make the diving catch. Still no word on the exact nature of his injury. It's awfully thin in the outfield. With Schaefer down, Hayward down, now Upton down. Three balls, no strikes. Votto will be a Red for life. Last April, he signed a life-changing contract with the Reds, a 10-year contract that will take him through the 2023 season with a team option for 2024.
How old is he?
29.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like those kinds of contracts, and you worry about the back end of it. But
check swing. Johnson with a snow cone. 360 spin, and got Votto for out number 1. That's 2 good plays for Chris tonight at the hot corner.
Yeah, and that's not as easy a play as it looks when he's going to his left like that and stretching out, and then he's got to make a 360 and find the bag and make a good throw. But he made it look easy on that one.
How'd the arm look to you?
Looked good on that throw. I mean, you don't see any of the shaking or the stretching or all this gyrating he was doing last night after every time he threw a ball, so that's a good sign.
I talked to Chris before the game tonight, and he said that it's in the back of his shoulder, and it did not affect him at the plate, but it did affect him in the field, which is what you caught in game 1 last evening. And Brandon Phillips bats. He's knocked in 2 runs. Phillips, a 4-time All-Star. He'll make his first start for the National League. And line to first. Freeman with a leaping grab. Phillips can't believe it.
He's still staring at him. Freddie's just, what's the big deal? I do that all the time. But that's another aspect of Freddie's game that those of us that get to see him play so much have really come to appreciate and love. Great defensive first baseman, and he will be a Gold Glover before all is said and done.
They'll be teammates next week. As Bruce digs in and takes a strike. Bruce hit into a double play in the first inning. In 2008, the Cincinnati Reds had 3 of the top 5 vote getters for the Rookie of the Year. Giovanni Soto of the Cubs won the award. Votto was second. Jair Jurgens of the Braves finished third that year. Edinson Volquez and Jay Bruce were fourth and fifth.
Wow.
And Bruce began his big league career with a bang. Braves thought he was struck out. Rob Drake and Brian McCann talk about that as Medlin had 2 steps toward the dugout.
I thought he had called it. No, they were right.
And that's downstairs. But Jay Bruce, first week of his big league career, 15 hits and 3 home runs.
Yeah, I remember him getting off to an unbelievable start, and I think his first month of being up here was really solid as well.
And just in case you wondered, no, he didn't make the 2008 All-Star game.
Well, a month wasn't long enough. Just saying.
Well, back in the old days, Tom.
Yeah.
Good power hitter in a good hitter's park. And another chance for Freeman, this one out of reach. Justin will fire to second, and Bruce in safely. The bat was broken, and so were the hearts of McCann and Medlin. They thought they had Bruce struck out. He gets a swing on the house and cashes in a 2-out double.
Not a bad pitch. Change up down in the zone, maybe a little bit more towards the heart of the plate than Chris wanted, but Jay Bruce said, hey, Brandon, let me show you how to get it over that guy's head.
6 Reds hits with 2 outs in the third inning. Here's Frazier. Tipped and caught. should say tipped off McCann. No balls and a strike. About a week ago, Brian McCann went back to the old style catcher's mask. He took a wicked foul ball when the Marlins were in town, and a piece of that mask actually broke. This one, Brian feels, offers him a lot more protection.
I think initially a lot of those guys went to that for the vision, right? They thought they could see the ball.
Hockey
yeah,
mask.
the hockey mask could find the ball better.
And the recoil, too. Sometimes guys with the big swings, Tommy, would helicopter and hit the catcher in the back of the head.
Well, I wonder what feels worse, a 100-mile-an-hour slap shot off one of those things or a foul tip. I don't want to find out on either end, but just food for thought.
That would be a great feature for that'd be a great feature for either you or Tom Hart in the postgame show.
Yeah. Maybe we could bring in the guys from Mythbusters and we could bang. There we go.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Big lead at second for Bruce.
Yeah, that's where Med's got to make a pitch. He really can't afford to allow that run at second base to score. 3-0. Seems manageable. 4-0 seems a little bit less manageable, even though it's still early in the game. So I want to keep it right there.
31st inning pitches, 63 pitches in total for Chris. And a liner out of play. Still 2-2. It seems odd that the Braves are wearing red with the Reds in town tonight. This is their customary home uniform for Friday night games. They wear the red jersey tops. Reds in their road grays. There's a breaking ball, and Frazier took it to retire the side. No runs, a hit, a man left. Lower third of the order for Atlanta, trailing 3-0. Hitting 7, 8, and 9 on the lineup card. Chris Johnson's red hot, and he's our Wendy's Now That's Better feature.
Yeah, he had a real good month of June, hitting 300. 2 homers, 9 RBIs, and he's followed up with so far even hotter July. a .390 average in July, a homer and 8 RBI, so he's continued his great work.
I'm going to say this, and I mean this in all due respect. One of the biggest questions the Braves faced in the early days of spring training was, how do you replace Chipper Jones? You can't, right? I mean, there's just no way. But the job that Chris Johnson and Juan Francisco did in spring training, and even after Juan was traded to Milwaukee, the work that Chris Johnson has done at third base has minimized those questions and those concerns at that time.
Absolutely has. You're 100% right. And it's inevitable. You're going to have those questions, those comparisons. You're going to have that discussion about Chris Johnson or whoever filling Chipper's shoes. And as much as they downplay it and everybody else downplays it, it still kind of hangs out there in everybody's minds. And the reason you don't hear that discussion so much, if at all, is because of the work Chris Johnson has done.
I mean, he was, I really don't like to use the term a throw-in.
Right,
but he was an extra piece in that trade with Arizona. Where would the Braves be without this guy?
Mm-hmm.
In the air to center. But that's playable for Chu, and he's got it for out number 1. The most at bats Chris has ever gotten in a big league season is 378. You figure he'll fly by that. The most homers he's hit is 11. The most RBIs he's had is 76. That came last year between Houston and the Diamondbacks.
And I think that'll be something to keep an eye on the second half of the year as he gets to his career high in at-bats and surpasses that. It'll be interesting to see how he continues to hit beyond that.
Joey Trdoslavich with 1 out. He entered the game in the first inning after B.J. Upton was hurt. He was fooled by a Royals off-speed pitch. It's 0-2. The word is in from the Braves training room. B.J. Upton has left the game with a right adductor muscle strain. And Joey's down swinging. That's a Royals' first strikeout. He's set down 8 straight.
Well, you know, you look at it and you think, well, it's got to be a knee injury the way that knee dug into the ground, but obviously not. So hopefully that's good news. Hopefully, you know, it's something that a couple days here and then the All-Star break, he'll be good to go.
One ball, 1 strike. That's tipped by Medlin, foul. And back up the middle. Chris has the first Braves hit.
I'm not going to say anything. Fastball tried to go in, threw it over the heart of the plate. Chris put a good swing on it, and you know, look, Bronson Arroyo, probably like I was through much of my career, threw under the hitting speed. But for the pitchers, that's good hitting speed.
So a long one here could get the Braves back in the game, down 3-0. And Andrelton Simmons is a guy that has worn out Cincinnati pitching. And that's foul at the plate, 0-2. And here is Andrelton's good work. Our Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot.
Man, with those numbers, he's got to be rooting for realignment, doesn't he? Get the Reds over here in the East, maybe.
I wouldn't mind moving to the West, quite frankly. All those trips to San Diego and L.A., that wouldn't be bad.
No, that was a big grind.
Way outside, 1-2 strikes. Well, the Braves have an interesting schedule the rest of the way. They've got all their Western stuff taken care of. The farthest west they go the rest of the year is to St. Louis. And that's not until late August. Lots of games in New York, Philly, and Washington the rest of the way. And a little pop behind second. Phillips was playing in, goes back and makes an over-the-head basket catch. Wow. He's an all-star too, you know, and that saved trouble for Bronson Arroyo. A terrific play by Brandon Phillips.
Nothing over the Braves. I'm Elizabeth Morrow. Well, today it was Christmas in July for the kids at the Children's Hospital of Atlanta in Eggleston. The last weekend in June, the Braves' wives gathered toys in return for some signed autographed baseballs and some memorabilia. Well, today, Tim Hudson, Kim Hudson, Reed Johnson, and Jordan Walden and some coaches took those kids to the kids at the hospital. They visited with their families, put lots of smiles on the kids' faces, spent hours with them. The Hudsons have hosted this event since Tim became a Brave. We know this event is very close to their heart. They have 3 children of their own, Kennedy, Tess, and Cade. For more information on everything outstanding the Hudsons do, not only in their community but in Atlanta, go to thehudsonfamilyfoundation.com. Chip?
Great report, Elizabeth. That is one of the best days of the year.
Yeah, great work by Kim and Tim and by the rest of the guys that went. I can tell you that as therapeutic as that is for the kids that they go visit, it's every bit as therapeutic for the guys and the wives, because I'll tell you what, you walk out of there with a different perspective on a lot of things.
So Tim Hudson and Kim Hudson and the rest of the Braves at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, our SunTrust shining moment tonight. 4th inning now, 3-0 Cincinnati. Medlin to face Zach Cozart, who takes the ball outside. Cozart fly to center. That ended the 3-run Reds first. 1-2 to Cozart, who started this series last night hitting second. Number 2 spot, Tommy, for the Reds has been a real concern for them. Lack of production, driving in many big runs. So Dusty Baker shuffles things tonight. Robinson second, Cozart 7th. And Pavla back toward us, but out of reach. It's still 1-2.
Well, we see it all the time with lineups. We see it plenty with the Braves lineup. You're always trying to find a slot for those guys maybe that are struggling or not quite where you want them to be. See if you can a change in the lineup will put them in a better spot and see if you can get success there. So that's what the Reds are trying to do with this. Not that you're going to get run production out of Robinson in the second slot, but you saw the element of 2 guys at the top of the lineup and some speed and having to worry about that, how that played out in the first inning. So far, the change has paid dividends for Dusty and the Reds.
That just missed. And the count now 2 balls, 2 strikes. Cozart's from Braves country. He was born in Memphis, lives in Franklin, Tennessee. Reds took him in the second round in 2007. Played ball at Ole Miss. He hit 15 home runs last year. That is a Cincinnati franchise record for a rookie shortstop. This year he has 7. And a line drive toward left with Oslovich going back. That one's off the fence. And Cozart drives a 3-2 pitch off the wall. And he doubles to start the Reds' 4th inning.
Well, I think this is kind of indicative of how things have gone for Chris tonight. There again, you see the trying to go away, make the mistake in the middle of the plate. And that's twofold there. I mean, Cozart fouled off a couple of decent pitches. Medlin had an opportunity to make a couple pitches to put him away. He wasn't able to do it. Then you foul a couple off, get the 3-2, make a mistake, and then you have a bad result. So I think more than anything else, you're continuing to see Chris not quite as sharp with his location.
Doubles in back-to-back innings for the Reds offense. They are 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position tonight. And in their last 25 games, the Reds came into play tonight hitting 178 as a team with runners at second base or third. And that includes a game that saw them go 8 for 17 with runners in scoring positions. They have really had tough times driving in big runs.
And it's amazing how that number just seems to be so contagious across the board. When it's going bad, it just goes bad for everybody, and when it's going good, it just seems to go in good in droves for everybody.
One count to Mesoraco. And a chopper to third. Johnson charges, gets the catcher, unproductive out, runner at second with 1 away. Is that a stat, Tommy, that you looked at when you prepared your game plan for a game? Did you look at batting averages, last 10s, who's driving in run? What exactly went into your thought process before you started?
I think I tried to pay more attention to recently, so who's hot, who's not, and then pay a little bit of attention to what guys are doing off of you individually, although for me, like I've said many times, there's a lot of guys that had crazy good numbers against me, so I try to dismiss them, but pick out the guys that had really bad numbers. But then, just try to really kind of go with that more so on that. What are these guys doing recently? And a lot of times where it really made a difference was against a guy who you knew was a big hitter, maybe a star hitter. If he's not so good his last 10 games, you might approach him a little bit more aggressively than you otherwise normally would do.
So you know going in if Joey Votto is struggling with guys in scoring position.
Absolutely. You want to know that, because I think that tells you something. You know, if a guy's struggling with runners in scoring position, well, why is it? Is he over anxious? Is he expanding his strike zone because he's over anxious? You know, is he, you know, there's a reason for it.
Medlin strikes out Arroyo. That's the second out, and Chris's third strikeout of the game.
So I think, you know, to finish my thought there, I think you try to figure out what the reasoning is and then try and exploit that. And again, it's not always, you know, numbers don't always tell all the whole story, but it gives you a pretty general idea of what's going on. And if you've got a guy that I think typically will struggle with runners in scoring position, well, there's probably a good chance that he's being overly aggressive and like I said, expanding his strike zone a little bit. And for me, with my style of pitching, that was something I wanted to try and take advantage of. Pretty good chance he's not seeing a fastball for a strike early in the count.
And I'm guessing this guy won't either, right?
I would think not.
Hello. Tonight.
There you go.
Shows what we know.
Right.
Strike one to Shin-Soo Choo.
But there again, this is the third time through, so you know that might be a situation where he's shown him his breaking balls his first time through the line or through the order, and now he's going to go to something different.
That's a big run at second base in this game. 3-0 Reds. You get out of this, you go to the fourth, and then the Braves will go through the lineup a second time against Arroyo. They'll do that with their 2, 3, and 4 batters. One and two. As good as Choo has been at getting on base, he will strike out. He has struck out 62 times this year.
Well, we'll see if they're going to go right to whatever pitch they think they can get him out with, or waste a pitch here to set up going back to the out pitch.
Struck him out. Change up and a beauty. Medlin gets out of a fourth inning jam. A leadoff double wasted again by the Reds. 3-0 game.
Cincinnati still leads it 3-0. Time for our Georgia Power Energy Tip number 10. That's Chipper Jones, number 10. With Georgia Power's Home Energy and Improvement Program, customers can get up to a $100 rebate for upgrading from a standard thermostat to a programmable thermostat. Georgia Power Energy Tip number 10.
It's good seeing Chipper at the ballpark last night.
Yeah, it was good to see him.
Ray Johnson goes to work for the Braves. Let's see if the second time through the order brings Atlanta better luck. They managed only one hit, and that was from Chris Medlin with 2 outs last inning. A chopper toward Votto. Arroyo wins the race to the bag, and Ray Johnson is out number 1. You saw on that graphic Ray Johnson in center field. B.J. Upton left the game with an adductor strain. That's what I understand a fancy way of saying a groin strain for B.J. Upton. Don't know the severity of it. And so when B.J. had to leave the game, Johnson moved from right to center. Justin Upton moved from left to right, and Joey Trdoslavich took over as the third member of the Braves outfield. 1 out for Justin. He rolled out to Todd Frazier in the opening inning.
Well, true to form, Braves have seen a bunch of different pitches, a bunch of different arm angles, and changing speeds off a lot of those same pitches.
And frankly, Tommy, this has to be a very refreshing sight for the Reds, for Arroyo has not pitched very successfully away from his home ballpark.
No, he hasn't. He's we showed you in the open, numbers not very good on the road.
Arroyo 6-2 in his home ballpark. A man that has given up a lot of home runs. Pitches better in the bandbox that is Cincinnati than he does away from home, where he's 1-5.
Yeah, which is I mean, it's crazy. I mean, if you could figure out those things, you'd fix them. But something about pitching in that ballpark makes him comfortable and makes a lot of other pitchers uncomfortable.
Pop fly, shallow right. Phillips can't catch this one. Try to flip to Bruce. Now Upton's going to try for 2, and the throw is going to beat him. The ball dropped between Phillips and Bruce. Phillips flipped the glove to Jay. It hit off of his body, dropped to the floor, dropped to the field, and then Justin, after stopping between first and second, tried to take second, was thrown out. Look at this.
Not a bad idea. I mean, I think Brandon obviously sensed kind of ball being in no man's land there that Justin might be thinking too, and unfortunately Justin, had he kept going the whole way, he would have had it easily, but certainly not going to think going to second on that play once you see Brandon get to it. But when the flip ran a little errant, he took a chance, and Bruce made a nice throw.
Fly ball by Freeman, well hit. Chu, though, is going to have a play in left center, and that'll retire the side. 5th inning, 3-0 Reds. set here in Atlanta as the Reds come up for their turn in the 5th inning against Chris Medlin. All year long, Braves baseball on Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. With Tom Glavine, Tom Hart, Elizabeth Morrow, I'm Chip Carey, along with the rest of our great Fox Sports crew. Big crowd at the ballpark for Friday night fireworks after the game, and the Cincinnati Reds too. Chris could use an easy frame. He's got Derek Robinson to start things off. There's a note on this kid in the Reds media guide which is simply astounding. I told you he's from Gainesville, Florida. He turned down a scholarship offer to play cornerback for the Gators. Before the 2006 baseball draft, he was rated the fastest high school base runner in the country. At the Perfect Game USA camp, ran a 60-yard dash in 6.19 seconds. And he'll have a chance to show his speed after singling on an 0-2 pitch.
Well, I can feel your frustration, Chris. 0-2, you made a good pitch and not even a strike. The guy gets it and gets a base hit.
Robinson stole 50 or more bases in 4 consecutive minor league seasons, topping out at 69 bases back in 2009. And he may not even be the fastest guy in their organization. As Votto drives one down the left field line, that's trouble in the corner. Tadasevich got to it quickly, and the runners will stop at second and third. Good play by Joey to hold Robinson at third base. Again, the Reds threaten second and third, nobody out.
Well, been talking about it all night long. Fastball tried to go in, leaked over the heart of the plate, and that's not an area you're going to get away with too many times with Joey Votto.
So Alex Wood begins to loosen in the Braves bullpen. Roger McDowell will come to the mound and give Chris a mental breather here. Talked about it a lot tonight. The All-Star break is approaching, and Tuesday night it's the All-Star game live from New York. National League versus the American League, and it's all on the line Tuesday only on Fox from Citi Field, the home of the Mets.
Should be a good venue. It's always interesting in New York.
Who's going to start for the National League?
Man, oh man. That'd be awful hard not to have Matt Harvey start, wouldn't it?
Right? Certainly has an awful lot of talent. I mean, we saw him flirt with a no-hitter here in Atlanta.
As good as I've seen this year.
Here's Brandon Phillips. The infield will come in for Atlanta. Phillips already with 2 RBIs tonight. Freeman robbed him of a hit with a leaping grab in the third. Popped up. Down the right field line, Justin Upton won't have a play. They have had trouble finding that baseball with a high sky. It is that time of night.
He's saying something to Freddie right now, I think. I'm going to give him a little help out there.
Robinson, the runner at third. Votto at second. Mentioned that Robinson may not be the fastest Red. They have a kid named Billy Hamilton who stole 155 bases last year between Bakersfield and Pensacola. And Phillips got hit by a pitch that chased him in the right-hand batter's box, and the bases are full of Reds. And that'll be the last pitch of the night for Chris Medlin. He just didn't have it tonight. 30 first inning pitches, 3 Cincinnati runs. And after 90 tosses tonight, he'll be taken down by skipper Freddie Gonzalez. Alex Wood will be summoned from the Atlanta bullpen. We'll tell you about his year when we come back to Atlanta. By the Georgia Lottery, by the Home Depot, and by Toyota. 3-0 Reds, and they are threatening as you see. Bases loaded, nobody out in the 5th inning. And Alex Wood will indeed answer our first AT&T call to the bullpen. And Jay Bruce will be the man he faces first.
He's on for the 16th time, 0-2, 2.95 ERA. Done nice work for the Braves coming out of the bullpen. His last time out in Miami, went an inning with give up a hit and a strikeout. So tough situation to inherit right here. You got Jay Bruce, who strikes out an awful lot. Lefty-lefty matchup. See if they can exploit that and be on their way to getting out of this inning.
Woods had 4 days off, and the reason for that, he pitched in 3 consecutive games for Atlanta, at Philly and at Miami. Something he had never done before. We'll see how sharp he is after him a long layoff. Number 2 time as a starting pitcher by trade.
Yeah, still trying to get used to that whole role out there and pitching multiple days in a row. All that's part of the adjustment and growing up process.
Let's see if Wood can silence some of these left-handed hitting Cincinnati offensive players. Bruce 1 for 2 tonight. Doing a pretty good job against lefties. They're hitting .252 as a team. Bruce at .286 with 7 home runs.
I love the bases loaded. Young guy comes out there. He starts the hitter off with a breaking ball. Then on a 1-1 count has the courage to come back with another breaking ball. That's some big confidence for a young guy in a tough situation.
And once again, Tom, if the Braves can shut down the Reds in this inning, you feel like you're still in the game, right?
You absolutely are. I mean, there's psychologically a big difference between 3 runs and 4 runs, but even, hey, bases loaded, nobody out. They get out of this and they're still even only down 4-0. You have to feel like you still got a shot.
1 ball, 2 strikes. This is a place where you can go to get a strikeout. Bruce, as I told you earlier, 109 strikeouts this year. And I assume, Tommy, this is the pitch he wants action.
Absolutely, he does. So we'll see if he'll go to that breaking ball in a 2-2 count like he did in the 1-1 count.
The appeal, no swing, and Bruce has a full count. A single, a double, and a hit batsman from Chris Medlin. He's been taken down for Alex Wood. Now Jay Bruce awaits a full count pitch. Fly ball to right. Upton sets up. He comes charging in. There's the grab. The throw's going to go towards third base. And pretty good decision. I don't know if you'd even have a crack at getting Robinson with his blazing speed. A sac fly for Bruce. It's 4-0. Old baseball partner of mine, Tommy, used to say all the time, give them what they earned. They earned that run. Keep the double play in order here.
Absolutely. You know, I agree with you. I don't, you know, you're still in the double play situation here. I don't think they would have had a chance to throw Robinson out at the plate. So good throw back into third base. Keep the runners where they are, and now try to get that ground ball double play and keep this game still within reach.
Ball to Frazier. 1 ball, no strikes. Frazier's hitting to 9 double plays this year. The Reds have hit 76 of them for the season. 1 ball, 1 strike. Wind's starting to pick up, and it's shifted. It's blowing in toward the Reds dugout all of a sudden.
Well, that's not good because it's looking a little dark over right field. 94-mile-an-hour fastball called a strike. Well, I got 2 shots to make a pitch here now, so you don't want to get to 3-2 like you did with the last hitter. You put yourself in a position 3-2 where you can't really afford to throw that nasty breaking ball or changeup in case you miss and walk. So you got 2 shots to make that nasty pitch here.
Roll to the right side. Freeman's got a cannon. The flip to short. Stop Andrelton Simmons at the bag. Was in time, but no chance to double up Frazier. And the Reds have runners at the corners, and 2 are out.
That's almost a case where you made too nasty a pitch. Couldn't get a good enough swing on it to have him hit it hard at anybody. So we got the 1 out. 1st and 3rd. Be mindful of a whole host of crazy plays that can go on here, but like we said, get this hitter, keep it at 4, and you still feel like you're very much within reach.
Here's Cozart. He's done a lot of early swinging in counts in this series. He took that one for a strike. Bases loaded for the Reds. Nobody out. They've scored but 1. Now they have them 1st and 3rd with 2 outs. He's ahead of the shortstop. 0-2.
Yeah, he's done a nice job coming in this situation and being aggressive, going after every one of these guys.
Let's see what his wipeout pitch is. Good scoop by McCann. That was across the shoe tops. Runner at first goes. The pitch high. The throw's going to go to second, and it's going to be in time. Frazier thrown out trying to steal, and it's a good thing he was out because Votto was coming home on the throw. It's 4-0.
It's not any better on the injury front. Just spoke with general manager Frank Wren moments ago. Jordan Schaefer underwent an MRI today that revealed an intraosseous stress fracture. They thought it was a soft tissue injury when he fouled this ball off of his foot in Kansas City that would require a 7 to 10 day treatment. But after multiple x-rays turned up negative and Jordan was going through more and more pain, they decided to send him in for an MRI. As a result, this is typically a 6-week injury, which means Schaefer will be out for another 4 weeks. It took a while for this injury to show up because the x-rays did not show it, and it takes an MRI to see it, and it's bad news for a Braves team which is already down a couple of outfielders.
No doubt about that, Tom. As Brian McCann saved a run with a great throw to second base. The Reds try to double steal with Cozart up there behind in the count. And Alex Wood, Tommy, allowed just 1 run to score with the bases loaded and nobody out.
Yeah, I tell you, if the Braves are able to come back in this game, then that's a moment in this game you're going to point to as being a difference maker. Bases loaded, nobody out. You come out of that inning only giving up 1 run, and like we've talked about, you're still within striking distance. Anytime you can tie a game with 1 swing of the bat, you got a chance, and that's where the Braves are.
And back to Tom with regard to the Jordan Schaefer injury. The shame of it, Tommy, is Jordan was having a terrific year for the Braves and proved to be a huge part of a Braves bench that's now really, really shorthanded.
Especially behind B.J. Upton, and unaware of what will happen with B.J. and his injury tonight. But Frank Wren anticipated a roster move being made tonight as they look for some outfield help. Evan Gattis in action tonight for AAA Gwinnett. He's eligible to come back at any moment. You don't want to rush him back at the same time. Jose Constanza, who's on the 40-man, is only hitting .260 right now.
Yeah, all that aside, too. I mean, it's just one of those ones that, it just breaks your heart for Jordan because, I mean, those of us that know him, have been around him, you see the transformation not only in his career but for him as a person, and you just hate to see that happen.
So it's another 4 weeks. That's mid-August, and then you're probably talking another week and a half, 2 weeks for rehab. So I'm just guessing here, September 1 or so for Jordan Schaefer.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I guess it all depends on how soon he can start doing some of those quote-unquote baseball activities, and not necessarily the getting out there and running and pounding it and all that stuff. I mean, certainly that's going to be a part of it, but being able to do some of the other things, throwing, playing catch, keeping his arm going, doing all the other workout stuff for his body so that he's not sitting around for 4 weeks and having to start all over again. So all that's going to play into it. But yeah, you would think it's going to be a minimum of 5 to 6 weeks.
And for me, the most frightening part of it would be the running part, because that's a major component of Schaefer's game. That and the threat of his speed.
Yeah, now from here on out, it'll be non-load bearing exercise for him. They'll have him in the pool. They'll have him running on the treadmill in the pool to try and stay in shape.
Popped up by Dan Uglow with the wind blowing in. That's going to be an easier play for the shortstop, or for the second baseman, Brandon Phillips, I beg your pardon.
And so that'll be a big part of his rehab process, just getting work done in the pool, because it is a foot injury. Now, the one question that was asked of Frank Wren was, did those games that Schaefer appeared in do anything to exacerbate the injury? And he said no. In fact, it was an injury that wouldn't have shown up earlier anyway. It just kind of took some time to get exposed. But when Jordan wasn't getting any healthier and felt more and more pain, that's when they decided on the MRI.
Well, I'm glad they found it. It's unfortunate that he's hurt, as Johnson just missed a double down the third base line. How close was this?
Well, with real speed, it looked very close, and yep, just on the inside of the bag.
For 4-0 Reds. Johnson in the box, riding a 12-game hitting streak. That's 2 shy of his career high. And the man of a million pitches, Bronson Arroyo's pitching brilliantly. He's given up just 2 hits. That's over the outside corner, and a million arm angles too. 2 outs after the leadoff walk. That's 2 punch outs for Arroyo tonight. Talked to the Reds announcers, Tommy, before the game, and they said the amazing thing about Arroyo has been his ability to reinvent himself over the course of his Reds career. Not that he's had much trouble tonight, but when he's in trouble or needs to make a big pitch, he can reinvent everything about the way he delivers the baseball.
Well, and that's what makes it difficult to formulate a game plan against him, because you don't know what he's going to break out in any given situation. You know, and obviously, we talk about it a lot. I mean, not overpowering stuff, so he's got to be on with his location, and he's got to be on with his pitch sequence and all those things, which makes it a lot tougher than a guy who can just rear back and fire one in there 98. And if I don't hit my spot, you can't hit it anyway. But when he is on his game, it's tough, because like we talk about all the time, you can't eliminate a pitch in any count. You can't eliminate a location. And the minute maybe you start to get a good look at a pitch, he may change his arm angle or change speeds off that pitch.
Like that. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, and this is not the style of pitcher that's probably the kind of guy you want to see as a young hitter. You'd rather see a guy out there throwing 95, where at least you can gear up for a fastball. Here, you don't know what you're getting.
That's bounced off the plate. Frazier charges and throws to first in time, and that'll retire the side. Man left for the Braves in the 5th. They trail it 4-0. 4-0 is your score. We're not going to be shut out on trivia tonight. Our AT&T Uverse trivia question. Who was the last Braves first baseman to be named to the National League All-Star team before Freddie Freeman?
Oh, you're waiting for me to tell you? I have suggestions.
Oh, okay. I was worried that we were going to start hearing crickets here in a second.
I didn't know you want me to give the answer right away.
No, we
so
can.
Folks at home could think about it a little bit.
Yeah, we can come up with some choices. Did Mark Teixeira make All-Star team as a Brave?
I don't know.
You think about Fred McGriff, obviously.
Got a few choices.
We always go with the obvious one, and then we change our minds, and it's then the obvious answer. Here's Cozart. Remember, he was in the batter's box behind in the count when the Reds tried a double steal and tried to steal a run. So McCann made a good throw to take care of Frazier. That allowed Cozart to get a new set of strikes to start inning number 6.
Yeah, that was as good a throw as I'd seen Mac make in a while. Threw that ball right on the money.
That's up and in from Alex. This will be his last inning of work. The pitcher spot is coming up first with the Braves hit. No swing. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Steven Strasburg went 2 innings for the Nationals tonight and gave up 7 runs to the Marlins. Atlanta leads the Nationals by 6 games in the division. Ugla at second handles and retires Cozart. Wood continues his good work. That's out number 1. Here's Mesoraco. And we told you the Phillies also in play in the East. And they were rained out tonight. Jonathan Pettibone was ready to face John Danks of the White Sox. That game was rained out. As it's an interleague series, I'm assuming they'll have to play a doubleheader tomorrow at Citizens Bank. As Mesoraco takes a quick strike. Simmons at short. And out number 2. The Braves Summer Concert Series is presented by Coca-Cola and Delta, and it continues here tomorrow. A free post-game concert by the legendary Steve Miller Band. If you'd like, you can get a field pass for the show for just $25. Go to Braves.com/concerts for details and tickets right now.
Should be a pretty good show.
Yeah. Big crowds expected tomorrow and Sunday. That's the All-Star break. And Steve Miller's fans might be getting an early start.
Well, the All-Star break's not 4 days off across the board, right, for everybody? Braves just...
You know, I don't know the answer to that. It used to be some teams got it and some did.
Just didn't know with the new scheduling.
I wonder if maybe that was a CBA thing where everybody got the extra travel day.
Could be.
Don't know the answer. Maybe
Chan will find out. You know he will.
He knows everything. Doesn't even need the computer. Arroyo swings and misses, and Alex Wood had himself a very good night, but Woody usually does. We head to the bottom of the 6th. It's 4-0 Cincinnati. Ubers, by Delta Airlines, and by Ford. 4-0 as we get set for the bottom of the 6th inning. Tommy, something I didn't think of a moment ago is how short the Braves bench is tonight. And look who's in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, they're running out of options. And from a health standpoint, and still, bottom of the 6th inning, it's still somewhat early here. So you have to be mindful if you do get into a situation later in the game where you got a chance to put some runs on the board. Last thing you want to do is run out of players. So now that's the logical answer. My answer: let the athlete hit.
He's relentless, folks. We love about it. So Alex Wood goes to work at the plate. 4-0. I mean, this is the odd thing is how manageable this game truly is. After the Reds have had so many scoring chances in tonight's game.
Well, how many times do you see it the other way around, where the Braves are maybe have a ton of scoring chances and don't put somebody away, and you're just in the kind of back of your mind always fearful that, well, we've had chances to put this team away and we haven't done it. You don't want to keep giving them, letting them think they have a chance.
Wood puts a good swing on that ball, but lines to second, and that's out number 1. Not that Dusty Baker's in any rush to go get Bronson Arroyo, who, after all, is throwing a 2-hit shutout. But something else you have to factor in as well is this very impressive scoreless streak that the Reds bullpen has working tonight.
Yeah, it's hard not to want to go start pulling guys out of that bullpen as quickly as you can, as good as they've been. But, look, Bronson's in complete control right now. I think you give him a relatively short leash. Don't let him get into a situation where they have a big inning building, if you can help it. And so far he's stayed away from even being remotely close to having the Braves have a big name.
No balls and a strike. And quickly 0-2. Arroyo, an accomplished pitcher, also an accomplished musical artist. He's a guitar player. He's released a CD. Lots of live performances for fans of his around the Cincinnati area. And Simmons shoots one toward left. And on the warning track, Robinson is there for the second out. Game 3 of the series is here tomorrow afternoon. Braves Live starts our coverage at 3:30, and it's not going to be an easy task for a man with not one, Tom, but 2 no-hitters pitches for Cincinnati tomorrow.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. One's hard to get. 2's real hard, but he's done it. Most recently, 2 starts ago against San Francisco. Went 9, gave up no hits, and punched out 9. So it will be a tall order tomorrow for the Braves hitters.
Mike Minor will pitch for the Braves. After a red-hot start for Mike, he's had a couple of okay starts by his high standards the last couple of times out. So we'll see if...
That's my fault. I jinxed him.
See if Mike can earn his 9th win.
Started talking all-star game, and I should have known better. My bad.
When I say okay starts, he was pretty good last time out. Didn't pitch real deep in the game. That was the 14-inning affair against the Marlins. Mike gave up a run in 6 1/3 innings. But it's been a month since he's won. His last win June 9th. So no time like the present for Minor to beat Homer Bailey here tomorrow. Three balls and a strike for Reed Johnson. Justin Upton waits next. Braves are a bloop and a blast from being right back in this game.
I don't care how many times you see that as a hitter, when a pitcher starts that curveball right at your midsection, it is hard not to give up on it.
And Reed did, and is called out on strikes. He knew it. Arroyo with 3 up, 3 down in the 6th inning. Top of the Reds order up for the 7th. Tommy, it's time for our Home Depot tools from the dugout, and Chris Johnson, a man we featured earlier, has not disappointed this evening.
Yeah, we've been talking about his great work over there and somewhat filling the shoes of Chipper Jones, but not really. I mean, certainly keeping the spot warm over there, but he's done it all for the Braves. Played good defense, great hitting, big pleasant surprise, I think, offensively. So, as it's been said so many times before, you hate using the term throw-in, but boy, are the Braves glad they got him.
So here we go to the top of the order for the Reds, and if there is a weakness in the game of Shin-Soo Choo, it's that he has at times struggled against left-handed pitching. The Braves are hoping that continues. He has 2 more hits tonight. He scored another run. That's 4 in the first 2 games for Choo. And he's behind Wood, no balls and a strike. Good cut, but back to the screen. A ball and 2 strikes. Ground ball out towards second. Ugla gets Choo. He flies down the line. That's out number 1. Impressive work by Alex Wood so far in relief.
Yeah, he's done everything and more than you could have expected. That we talked about coming in that difficult bases loaded, nobody out situation. Only gave up the 1 run. And has been strong following that inning up here and continue to do good work and keep the Braves within striking distance of this game.
Well, here's a fun matchup. A man that pitched for the Georgia Bulldogs facing a man who declined a chance to play football for the Gators. And Robinson's had a good night. 2 singles, 2 runs. One of those hits a bunt in the very first inning.
Yeah, it was keep playing the game. That bunt in the first inning after Choo had led off with a base hit.
And Tommy, there's an awful lot of baseball time left in the career of Robinson and that kid Billy Hamilton I was talking about. But imagine the kind of speed those 2 guys add put them in this lineup with all the thumpers the Reds have in their ballpark?
Well, it's you know, it harkens back obviously to the thoughts of Willie McGee and Vince Coleman and that type of dynamic duo, so to speak. And then, you know, in that ballpark with the guys in the middle of this lineup, that'd be a opposing pitcher's nightmare going in there having to worry about the running game and the power game.
2 balls, 2 strikes. I don't know if there'll ever be another big red machine, but man, maybe a new fast red machine in the future for the Cincinnati club. Outside, a full count.
I figured maybe the progress of those 2 guys would probably have some impact on whether or not they go after Chu as a free agent at the end of the year.
To third. Johnson, look how quickly he gets rid of the ball. He knows Robinson can run. And 2 outs. Well, the Reds have some work to do. Look, at the end of the day, you want to get into the dance. But many thought that the Reds were going to be the team that won the Central Division this year. They start play 5 games behind the Cardinals. St. Louis beat the Cubs today, 3-2 at Wrigley Field. So Dusty's club has to win to keep pace. Here's Votto. And the Reds, in a way very much like the Braves. You talk about how similarly these teams are built. Cincinnati has been dominant at home. And they enter play tonight 4 under 500 on the road. And if the playoffs started today, those would be the 5 representing the National League. Strike 3 to Votto. Alex Wood is dealing. He sends the game to the 7th inning stretch. 4-0 Reds. Well, those shots really summarize the game. It's brought to you by Crown Royal as Cincinnati is 2-hitting Atlanta through 6.5.
Yeah, too many guys from the other team on our game summary. Bronson Arroyo, 6 innings, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, been in command all night long. Derek Robinson, nice night, 2 for 4 with a couple singles and a couple runs scored. And the bad news for the Braves beyond the score is B.J. Upton left the game in the first inning with a right adductor strain. So hopefully that won't be a big deal, and with the upcoming All-Star break, a little bit of rest will have him ready to go when the All-Star break is over.
Justin Upton versus Bronson Arroyo. A quick strike.
I think for the Braves here, you got to start thinking in terms of cutting the lead in half. You got the good part of the order coming up. You get a couple runs here, a little bit of an extended inning. You set these guys up to be back up there in the 9th inning and maybe do some damage then.
Bronson Arroyo, for the most part, has been a 6-inning guy for Cincinnati. I mean that all due respect. But he's gone 7 innings or more 7 times for Cincinnati. Last time he has pitched as many as 7 innings was June 19th against the Pirates. He beat Pittsburgh that day 2-1. Roller left side, Cozart. Strong arm gets Upton, 1 out. And Upton may have hurt himself running down the first base line. Upton hobbling as he crossed the first base bag. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, Freddie's got to be wondering what the heck's going on now. Yeah, he looked hobbled. I'm wondering if maybe he hit the bag wrong, but clearly he was hobbled before he ever got to the bag.
This would be unbelievable. If Upton goes down, the Braves would lose their entire starting outfield in the span of 24 hours. To third with a shift on. Freeman is out number 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Hamstring, knee. I mean, it could be. Looked like he grabbed his knee a little bit when he got past first base, but in any event, it's not good.
Both Uptons hurt tonight. Hayward hurt last night. It looks like Tyler Pasternak is going to grab a glove, and he'll have to go to the outfield. And a roller foul by Brian McCann. He is our Academy Sports and Outdoor leaderboard.
Good company, some good numbers there.
The Reds have pitched McCann awfully tough this year, including his 0 for 1 tonight. Bryant against Cincinnati pitching is 1 for 12. So they've made an adjustment in the early matchups. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And that one hammered foul. And on the ricochet, the ball boy makes a fine play. Still 1-2.
Well, that's what it's about, trying to make adjustments, trying to stay ahead of the curve, so to speak. But you can have all the good plans you want. You still have to execute the pitches, and the Reds have been doing it so far this year against Bryant.
There's a drive deep right. Bruce going back. There's that slugging percentage. McCann spoils the shutout bid with a solo homer.
thrown three consecutive fastballs all night long. I know he's done it with his breaking ball, but got ahead of Brian, tried to get him to chase 2 fastballs out of the zone, got to a 3-2 count, came back with a 3rd fastball right down Broadway, and Mac's not going to miss that one too many times.
Brian's 11th homer on a full count pitch, and the Braves are on the board for Dan Uggla with 2 outs. And he unloads toward left center, but not deep enough. Wing's going to knock that into the glove of Robinson, and that retires the side. We head to the 8th. It's now 4-1, Cincinnati in front. All season long, Braves baseball on Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. An amazing 24 hours. 3 separate injuries to the Braves starting outfielders leaves this club, Tom Hart, awfully thin as the All-Star break approaches after Sunday.
So then the question is, who's next? Tyler Pasnicki in center field now. He only has 3 games in the minor leagues under his belt in the outfield. I was just kind of curious who else maybe has seen the outfield in their career. Dan Uggla appeared in 20 games in Double-A in the outfield with El Paso. That team doesn't even exist anymore. Paul Yanish, in nearly 1,000 professional games, has never played in the outfield. You know who might be next? Gerald Laird. He played 2 games in right field in his career. And, oh, by the way, both Dale Murphy and Bryden Jordan are in the building tonight.
Hey, and we know they're athletes, right, Tom?
Well, I was going to say, you know, I bet Huddy can play the outfield.
Yeah, he did in college. But the one thing you cannot control in a major league season is what we've seen last night and tonight. Injuries.
Yeah, it can. 1 or 2 injuries can ruin all the best plans. I don't think I've seen a rash of injuries this quickly to one team like we have here in the last 24 hours. All you can hope for, like we keep saying, is that none of them are serious, and that the timing with all of this is perfect with the All-Star break coming up. But tell you what, it's going to force the Braves' hand a little bit, because they're going to be hard pressed to come into these next 2 games 3 guys down.
Well, yeah, and we were talking before the series started. No matter your lead, the games right before and right after the All-Star break are very important ball games.
They are. I mean, they go a long way towards, you know, if you're in first place, protecting your lead or adding to your lead. If you're behind, then trying to dent it a little bit. I know back in '91, that was the big difference for us, was that first week right out of the All-Star break. So you never know.
Brandon Phillips toward third. Johnson gives ground and throws a strike to first. And there is one out. We talked earlier tonight, Tom Hart, about Evan Gaddis beginning his rehab stint. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the plan was for at least 3 games at AAA and maybe a total of 6 if he still had some rust on his swing. And tonight for Gwinnett, he went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. He did not have a great batting practice yesterday, so he was looking forward to knocking some more rust off. You got to think, though, with their hand forced, he may be on the first flight back from Raleigh tomorrow morning. He is eligible to come off.
And the other part of the equation is 40-man roster considerations. Those are things that nobody thinks about. There are probably some guys who are playing at AAA but might not be on the roster, and if the roster's full, then you have to do something with someone else.
Well, there is a little bit of room in terms of guys that are or could be on the 60-day DL where you could bring a guy onto the 40-man. You know, there's Todd Cunningham is playing center field at Gwinnett. He's hitting nearly 300. He's not on the 40-man, but there are some options there to move some guys around. But Costanza, who had success 2 years ago and limited success last year, would also be at the top of the list, you'd think.
So those decisions will be pondered by that man and by general manager Frank Wren, I'm sure, as soon as the final out's recorded tonight. The other thing, Tom, that complicates things is it's not a night game tomorrow. It's day game tomorrow. Just the simple logistics of getting a player from Raleigh-Durham to Atlanta. It's a short hop. Probably could drive, but
yeah,
it's not like it's right up the road in Gwinnett.
In more ways than one, it's a nightmare right now. I mean, they certainly didn't want to have to be dealing with all this. And, you know, on top of all that, too, you know, you hate to rush Gaddis back if he's not ready.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Jay Bruce. Lost in this 4-1 game is the work by that man. Boy, Alex Wood has pitched great.
He has been impressive tonight.
Outside, full count. Late timeout granted. Wood went through with the pitch, so no pitch. The count stays 3-2. Swing and a miss. Bruce is out number 2. That's 3 strikeouts for Alex Wood.
Country hardball right there. Fastball, here you go. Try and get it, and he couldn't.
Way outside for Todd Frazier. Crowd tonight, 43,275. Fireworks after game 2. Alex has already gone a career high in innings pitched. He's at 3 2/3 so far tonight. The most pitches he's thrown in a game is 73. That was June 18th against the Mets. He struck out 5 in that one. He is pumping fastballs right on by these good fastball hitting Reds hitters.
And he's showing a couple of really good off-speed pitches too. Good changeup, good breaking ball.
Way outside, he lost Frazier. A 2-out walk, and that might be the end of the line for Alex Wood. 3 2/3 innings for Alex 3 strikeouts and a walk, 57 pitches, something for this kid to build upon. And the crowd in Atlanta gives him a well-deserved round of applause. Crown Royal by Georgia Power and by AT&T. Alex Wood retired 10 straight before issuing a walk to Todd Frazier, and he will give way to Luis Ayala. Let's answer our trivia tonight. Name the last Braves first baseman to be named to the All-Star team before Freddie Freeman was last night.
Well, and full disclosure, I think we've had this one recently, and Big Cat, I believe, was the answer.
You stick with Andres Galarraga?
I am, yes.
And you are right. And it's Andres Galarraga, who did it back in 2000. Doesn't seem possible. That was 13 years ago,
I know,
was
right?
it? Oh, smokes. Ayala faces Zach Cozart. 8th appearance for Luis.
2 innings of work. I'm sorry, inning and a third in the Miami series. His last time out.
You know who else made that All-Star team in 2000?
I know your partner did.
Yep.
Greg Maddux.
Yep.
Chipper Jones.
Yep. One more.
Had to be an outfielder, maybe Andrew.
Yeah. Wow. For an old guy, you've got a really good memory. No balls, 2 strikes. To Zach Cozart with 2 outs. How about 1998? Almost had the whole National League All-Star team. Andres Galarraga, Tom Glavine,
Chipper Jones,
Javi Lopez, Greg Maddux, and Walt Weiss.
Wow.
Made the All-Star team. Last year the Braves had 4 representatives. Chipper Jones, Craig Kimbrell, Dan Uggla, Michael Bourne. All-Star performers. This year it's Kimbrell and Freddie Freeman. Way outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 10 o'clock in Atlanta. But the clock for the injury concern struck midnight for the Braves in the very first inning when B.J. Upton went down with an adductor strain. Justin Upton pulled something running down the first base line. And now Cozart on a 2-2 count. Singles to center field. Forgot there was one more All-Star for the Braves last year, by the way. Jim Lovell.
That's right. Love it.
All-Star trainer as well.
Yep.
And well deserved. I bet you didn't know, Tom, that Jim Lovell and Jeff Porter last year were named by their peers as the athletic training staff of the year in Major League Baseball.
I did not know that, but I'm not surprised. Those guys do phenomenal work at keeping guys on the field.
They've been far too busy. They'd be the first to tell you that the last 24 hours.
Yeah, they are. They are getting ready to earn their money here.
Yeah. No balls and a strike for Mesoraco. The Reds catcher's had injury issues himself. He's been suffering from back spasms the last couple of weeks. Appeared to have no problems last night and nothing bad happening tonight. Way outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a good fastball in a good spot. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yeah, good pitch. 1-2 count now, and much like we've talked about in similar situations these last couple innings, got to get that out here. Can't let that run at second base score. Good off-speed pitch. Got him way out in front.
And a swing and a miss retires Mesoraco. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Braves are down 3 runs. Cold hard fact, Tommy. It's brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
Cold hard fact. Final vote record. Freddie Freeman, 19.7 million votes, shattering the previous record held by Shane Victorino in 2009 of 15.6 million votes. So congrats again to Freddie. Congrats to Braves Nation and Braves fans all across the country. Really got behind Freddie and really made a big difference. See Sam LeCure in there for the Reds, making his 35th appearance, and like many of the guys out there in the Reds bullpen, he has made 9 consecutive scoreless appearances, covering 8 innings. His last time out Tuesday at Milwaukee, went an inning, gave up a hit, and no runs.
Well, with all the bad medicine Bronson Arroyo was dispensing tonight, maybe for the Braves bats, this will be LeCure. As it's Chris Johnson. Swings and misses.
Chris Johnson was hoping the same thing, but he got another curveball.
Yeah. So the Reds bullpen, 31 2/3 scoreless innings of work. A franchise record. And a franchise record, Tom, that stood for nearly 100 years. The last string of this length by Cincinnati was all the way back in 1918.
Well, needless to say, when you've done something that hasn't been done in 100 years, it's pretty significant.
1 ball, 1 strike to Chris Johnson. And Frazier at third. Handles a top spin ground ball. And the throw in time to retire him for out number 1. Talking about all the All-Stars that the Braves had in 2000, with Andres Galarraga being the last first baseman. What else was special about that All-Star game?
No.
He was here.
Yes. Well, Yep. That was a short trip to that one. It was nice.
Chipper Jones hit a home run in that game off James Baldwin. And another side note was the 2000 All-Star game was not originally supposed to be in Atlanta. The All-Star game had been awarded to the Florida Marlins in July of 1995, but then National League President Len Coleman took it away because the league wanted the games to be played in newer ballparks. Joey Dragoslavich takes a ball, 1 ball, 1 strike. National League lost that game to the AL 6-3. The American Leaguers got 3 in the top of the 9th inning. Chipper Jones hit the only homer. Sammy Sosa that year won the home run derby, beat Reds center fielder Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I remember that. They were hitting balls up on top of the 755 club up there.
One ball, 2 strikes. This series features plenty of National League All-Stars as well. 5 of them in uniform with these 2 clubs. 2 for the Braves, 3 for the Reds. As a high fly ball hit to deep right by Dragoslavich, but that's playable for Bruce. And that's another out. And here are the list of the All-Stars. And the one guy you really never want to see is the guy that's on the far right of your screen. He's the closer for Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. He's got a special arm, but all those guys very deserving. A lot of good numbers. And we've seen some good things out of 4 of the 5 in this series. Haven't had a chance to see Chapman yet, but I suspect we'll be seeing him soon.
We're toying Tommy with the idea of making him a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, wasn't he a starting pitcher when he pitched for the Cuban national team? So, I mean, he's done it, but
Paul Janisch, a former Red, is going to hit a ground ball to Cozart. And LeCure works a 1-2-3 8th inning. We go to the 9th, 4-1 Reds in front.
continues to lead, and it's time now for Coors Light Freeze Cam. That was off the bat of Brandon Phillips. Line drive that Freddie Freeman said, nope, we are not going to give you this one. Going to rob you of a base hit. Brandon had a semi-good laugh about it. Freddie didn't want to look at him and laugh back, but it was a nice play, and that's our Coors Light Freeze Cam.
Well, got to hold him right here and hope for a rally in the 9th inning with the top of the order coming up. First things first, Anthony Varvaro will pitch for the 39th time this year.
Pitched in 2 of the 3 games in Miami. Last one going 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit and a walk. So, just like you said, shut him down, hold him right there, see if we can get a shot at tying this thing in the 9th inning.
Jack Hanahan's going to bat first in the 9th. Arroyo, very impressive tonight. Acura 1-2-3-8. Hanahan, 9 RBIs. He's out of St. Paul, Minnesota. And even count, 1 ball, 1 strike. Anthony's kind of taken on the role of Christian Martinez, it seems to me, Tommy, in the bullpen. Short inning, long inning, in between inning work.
Yeah, he really has, and he's done a nice job.
And if you didn't hear the news the other day, Christian Martinez, another Brave that's been lost for the season. He had shoulder surgery last week. So that's 3 guys in the bullpen the Braves are without. Martinez, Eric O'Flaherty, and Johnny Venters. Yet through all of that, Braves have maybe the best bullpen in baseball. If you look at ERAs and opponents' batting average, they're right up there with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's a classic example of when guys get hurt, guys got to step up and fill the void, and you never know how guys are going to react with their roles being changed, but those guys out there in the bullpen have stepped in and really filled the gap for those guys that have gotten hurt out there.
Speaking of getting hurt, the word from the Braves training room came in between innings. Justin Upton was diagnosed with a left calf strain. He too will be reevaluated tomorrow. Calves and hamstrings are really troublesome things.
Yeah, they are.
Three balls, 2 strikes. And time called. Tommy, I know our pal Joe Simpson's on vacation, but he was an outfielder.
Yeah, well,
I didn't need to get him back before the weekend's out. And ball 4 low to Hanahan. He's aboard in the 9th inning.
if Joe knew that phone call was coming, he might pull his hammy getting away from the phone.
Huh. One out, nobody out. Here's Chu. Two more hits for the Red center fielder, Shin-Soo Choo. And he scored 4 times in the first 2 games of the series.
He's been a pest. That's what he's done to a lot of teams all year long.
Chu was born in Busan, South Korea. It was part of the big deal with the Indians. Chu came to Cincinnati with Jason Donald in cash for Drew Stubbs and Didi Gregorius. That was December 11th last year. And this Braves bullpen, not among the best for Major League Baseball, but Tommy, they have the best ERA in Major League Baseball, and by a pretty significant margin.
Yeah, we were selling them short.
Braves ERA 2.63. 17 wins, 7 losses. That's the fewest losses of any bullpen in the big leagues. And only 5 teams have won more games than the Braves pen.
Well, sometimes that can be a little bit of a deceiving number too.
Navarro will try to start a double play, and the ball dropped by Simmons. On the transfer, Hanahan will be called out. Chu will reach on the forced play at second. No error. You can't assume the double play. 1 on, 1 out.
Yeah, throw handcuffed Andrelton just a little bit. You want to try and make that throw chest high, particularly with the shortstop moving and coming across the bag. And when Andrelton had to stop and go down and try and feel that ball around his knees, tough to make that transfer, and fortunately got the 1 out.
Derek Robinson, 2 hits and 2 runs. Cincinnati got 3 in the first. They added 1 in the 5th. Braves run came with 2 outs in the 7th. Brian McCann hit his 11th home run off of Bronson Arroyo. Braves, though, have just 3 hits tonight. Mets and Pirates are playing in Pittsburgh this evening. It's 2-2 in the 11th. Anytime the Pirates start thinking about extra innings, they worry about 19 being that unmagic number for them. I'll explain after the pitch. A strike to Robinson. 2 years ago, Pittsburgh came to Atlanta flying high, above 500. Talk of playoffs for the Buccos. They played the 19-inning game against the Braves, lost it on a bad call, collapsed. Last year they had a 19-inning game. I believe it was against the Cardinals. Collapsed.
Right around the same time frame too, I think.
It feels like it, yeah. If not before, shortly after the break, it seemed. Two and 1 for Robinson. Runner goes, swing and a miss. The throw to second, short hops. And I think the ball might have hit Chu. Shin-Soo Choo steals second base. And he's there with 1 out. Brian complaining about Robinson?
He was trying to get a little interference call there, I think. Yep. I don't know what the rule is on that if he stays in the batter's box. I don't know. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, he was in the box, wasn't blatant. I would imagine for home plate umpire Rob Drake, that's almost impossible to see with the catcher coming up out of his crouch to make the throw. And Favaro has his second walk of the inning. First and second, one out. Can't give him any more. Now you're going to face Votto with 2 on. Typical Joey Votto night. On base twice. He's walked, he's doubled, he's scored a run. And he's got hits in 20 of the last 24 Reds games.
I'd much rather be pitching to him with a base open and 2 outs.
Right. Good start for Anthony. Strike 1. As you said in the first inning, that's a tough pitch to take, but Votto did. He's in the driver's seat, 3-1.
He just does not go out of that zone very much to get himself out. I mean, that's a good pitcher's pitch right there in a 2-1 count. And he wasn't biting.
Fly ball to left. Noslovich is at the edge of the track. He makes the play for the second out. That approach, Tommy, is something that fans in Cincinnati grew frustrated with Adam Dunn. Did you notice any similarities between Adam Dunn's approach late in his career with the Reds and Joey Votto and the patience at the plate?
You know, gosh, it's been so long since I've seen Adam Dunn. I don't know, but you know, I mean, look, it's a difficult balance for a guy like Votto. I mean, you know what he can do. You know what he's capable of doing. You know as a fan what opposing teams' approach is going to be to him. And it gets frustrating sometimes watching those guys take their walks or get, some base hits here and there and not, really be driving the ball or whatever. But, you hate to see a guy expand his zone so much that he starts dropping 50 points on his average.
Phillips to third. Johnson makes the peg to first. And that sends this game to the 9th inning. We'll continue that discussion. Braves need 3 to tie, and Aroldis Chapman's coming on. ninth inning. Hopefully we'll talk about a great Braves comeback on Braves Live presented by AT&T. We'll hear from Freddie Gonzalez. Sound from the locker room and tonight's highlights. The big story, all the injuries. Both Upton brothers were injured tonight. Chris Medlin had a rough night in a starting assignment. And now it's going to be tough for the Braves hitters. One of the game's big arms is going to try to close it out for the Reds. It's all-star Aroldis Chapman.
He's on for the 41st time this year. 20 out of 23 save opportunities. You see his walk-to-strikeout ratio pretty good. Opponent batting average really good. And his current scoreless streak takes 4 games over 3 2/3 innings. He last pitched his last time out Wednesday against Milwaukee. Went 2/3 of an inning and had a strikeout.
So the game sets up perfectly for the Reds. Bronson Arroyo started, went 7, allowed 3 hits and a run. Sam LeCure, a scoreless Atlanta 8th. And now in the 9th, Simmons, Reed Johnson, and then we'll see. I guess it's going to be Tyler Pasternake's spot. Four runs, 10 hits for the Reds, a run, 3 hits for Atlanta. This is the first time Simmons has faced the Cincinnati closer. Do. Imagine a guy like Craig Kimbrell from the left side at 6'4" and 205 pounds. Last year, he reached as high as 102 miles an hour. And go from 101 to 88.
Well, you got to guess right. That's pretty much what it boils down to.
.38 saves last year for the Reds, but also 5 losses.
Getting loose now.
103.
And that wasn't a straight 103 either. That ball had some movement on it.
Doesn't do you any good if you can't throw it in the zone, though. Full count. In the air down the right field line, but Bruce was playing shallowly. And he makes the grab in foul ground for the first out of the 9th inning. Ray Johnson's 0 for 3. One of a handful of Braves that has seen Chapman before, and he's 0 for 2 lifetime. Held high, evens the count. that can throw a ball 103, 86, 89, and just about any other speed in between.
I don't know. I guess if you look fastball and guess fastball, guess right, and get the right location, or get one of those hanging sliders.
Reed puts it in play. Phillips at second makes a nice grab and out of the stretch for out number 2. So many times, Tom, you'll hear the expression, the pitcher will provide the power. Simmons got jammed and hit the ball to shallow right. Reed Johnson put wood on that ball and rolled it out slowly to second.
Well, it is true. The harder they throw, the more power they're supplying, but it's still a tough task to try and square it up on the barrel of the bat. And, like I say, a guy that's throwing this hard and got a little bit of movement on that fastball down and away. I mean, I guess you got to look fastball and commit to it.
Outside, 1 ball, no strikes. No swing. That's Cowboy Joe West. He'll have the plate here tomorrow. First pitch 4:05. Mike Minor, Homer Bailey. Braves live at 3:30. How about 2 All-Stars squaring off if Tyler could reach? Freeman's on deck.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the matchup we'll have. 2-out walk. You want power versus power? Here you go.
Well, it'll be interesting to see Freddie's approach here. As talked about a lot, he's not a guy that typically looks for a pitch or a location. He just kind of looks for the ball when he gets up there. So see what his approach is against Chapman.
And he likes the first pitch too, so let's see if he jumps on something. He did. But tipped it into the glove of Mesoraco at 102 miles an hour. Goes. The pitch tipped and caught. And Freeman and the Braves down to their last strike in the 9th.
Well, as you'd imagine, he's got pretty good career numbers against left-handed hitters. Lefties are only hitting 105 against him over his career, and he's only given up 1 home run to a lefty.
A 104 miles an hour.
For a guy that throws that hard, he's got a pretty simple delivery. Usually when we're talking about that much of a spread and high end to low end, usually it doesn't start with 104.
Right. You're talking 95 to 77, 8, 9, somewhere in that area. Now the importance of this inning, if you can somehow get Chapman's pitch count up, you may take him out of the equation for tomorrow. Something to think about. Freeman loops one into center. That's going to get down for a hit. Pasternacky scores, and the Braves will bring the tying run to the plate, and that ends Cincinnati's bullpen scoreless string. And who would have thought it would come against All-Star Aroldis Chapman.
Well, it's just a great at-bat by Freddie. You get 2 strikes on you. You got to battle. He fouled a couple pitches off and just kept battling away. Got enough of that one to just dump it in there in front of Chu in center field. And here we are. 1 swing could tie this thing.
McCann's already homered tonight. And a swing and a miss. That pops out of Mesoraco's glove, and Freeman moves up to second. That takes away the force play. And here's what McCann did last time up.
One of the few mistakes Bronson Arroyo made all night long. Fastball 3-2 count out over the plate. Ryan put a good swing on it, and that was the Braves' first run of the night. See if we can do that again.
Right-hand hitting Dan Uggla's next. Broken bat popped to first, and Votto is there. And the Cincinnati Reds have evened the series. 4-2 is your final score. We're back to Atlanta in a moment.